Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nicole Reacts Up. I'm Nicole, and I react to LGBTQ movies and TV shows. Today marks the very first episode of Nicole Reacts With, and we have an extremely special guest with us today. She's not only a talented actor, singer, and dancer, she did star in Hallmark's very first Women Loving Women film this season, Friends and Family Christmas. This year, she will be joining the Star Trek universe on Paramount Plus's Star Trek Section 31. Welcome, Humberly Gonzalez. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you for coming. It's been a few weeks coming now that we've been trying to get together, and I really appreciate it. You have a lot of exciting things happening. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
Star Trek, what does that feel like? I mean, that is like a world cultural phenomenon, like that's been around since the 60s. Tell me what that feels like to be part of that.
I know, I'm in a pretty incredible spot where I always wanted to do sci-fi, and especially working in franchises that are known worldwide. As a Latina immigrant in Canada who, decided to take a shot at this acting thing. I mean, if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be in Star Trek, I don't know that I would have believed you. And not only that, I'm also working on Star Wars. So to be working on both of them at the same time, it feels unreal, but it also feels very aligned, that I think it's time for this kind of representation and for Venezuelan people to be on screen. It's an honor, honestly, especially being Canadian, which is, I think, the other side of it too, that I think, I moved to Canada, not the US, and have been able to build a career from, living in Canada and being an artist here. So I love that I got given this opportunity, and it wasn't just luck or anything. Like, I worked really, really hard to get here. Even like booking these jobs, it was a strenuous process, and it was incredibly like eye-opening, challenging in every way. So when I got the part, it was like, yeah, I did, because I worked so damn hard for that. So I'm super proud.
It feels very correct, right? It feels very correct.
Yeah, it does.
I think about like the pressure of being in some kind of franchise like that, like Star Wars or Star Trek. Like, if you think about it, like forever, you'll be part of that universe, but there'll probably be like all these like little figurines of you like at the store, like forever.
I know. It's so cool. It's like you become immortalized in the biggest way. But I think that's what's so beautiful. These franchises have such a unique fandom, and it's like a family. I know time and time again, anytime I've seen any kind of like conventions and interviews or anything that relates to those worlds, it saves people's lives. It becomes like such an integral part of their life, and to be even a small, piece of that feels really special, because I hope that with me being a part of something like this, I can just bring a lot of positivity and representation, and just kind of like pave the way forward that, being in this position and representing all that I am, like, is possible.
Yeah, I have to say for myself, watching you in the Friends and Family Christmas, it was very surprising. Like, obviously, it was their first like lesbian storyline movie, which was great in itself. But for me to see like a Hispanic woman playing one of the main characters, because I'm Ecuadorian, and I, you never see that. You never, or you haven't. We haven't. And so I was so intrigued. I was like, oh, I gotta watch this. Usually I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll watch it. But I was like, I'm watching this. And I loved it. I mean, it was funny. It was great. It was, I could tell that you guys were not in cold climate during the filming. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like summer. We were so hot in between takes. I had a fan the entire time, like blowing down my turtleneck sweater. Like,
yeah, I could tell. But no, but I really loved it. It's a cute little story. It takes place in New York. I'm from New York. And I mean, you did a fantastic job. And you really kind of like paving the way, and hopefully making these production companies see like it can be other people up there. It can be
absolutely
of all colors.
As proud as I am of my roots and who I am, it's about showcasing the fact that I can exist as a human, as part of a story. And that can be enough.
Yeah.
It's a cherry on top that I can represent so many different types of people in the industry. But at the end of the day, we are all human. We're equal. And I I agree with you. I mean, I never thought that I would be a leading woman in a Hallmark film, because when I first started acting, it was a different demographic, and I didn't think there was room for me. So the fact that they came to me and said, "We want you for this," um, it's a testament to my previous work and the fact that it is possible. Like, you can lead these stories, they can be loved, they can be nominated for awards,
Hmm.
they can create an impact. um, and I just hope that it continues to lean into that
Well,
trajectory.
well, just like you said, another congratulations. My God, you got so much going on. Uh, Friends and Family Christmas was nominated for a GLAAD award, and
Yeah.
as it should be. That also feels very correct. So,
Yeah, I didn't know that that was gonna happen. It was, like me waking up one day and my producer and like the creator and everyone, like my castmate Ali was like, "Did you see the news?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it's such an honor because the people who we were nominated with, I mean, they're incredible films,
yes,
and regardless of winning or not, like it already feels like we are being seen and recognized, and that's all we wanted to do with something like this. That
yes.
I don't want it to be just like the first and last. I hope that it continues to grow that way, and they see that there's a demand for it. So it's already such a win for me. I'm like, that
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah,
It's such a,
that's
yeah,
just
it was
another
really
amazing thing
cool.
to be a part of. And no, I don't think it will be the first. I mean, I don't think it will be the last. Definitely
Yeah.
not. There's so many more stories to be told. I feel like we've heard a lot of the same stories, a
Yeah.
lot of the same stories. So we're ready for more diversity and all kinds of different things being told. But you said you were born in Venezuela, right? And in Punto Fijo.
Yeah.
What was that like?
uh, it was beautiful. I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago now when I think back to growing up in Venezuela, and like I haven't been back in 8 years.
Yeah.
To my home country. But, I grew up there. I lived there till I was about 11 or 12. And I still went back almost every year for a long, long time.
Wow.
This is probably the biggest hiatus I've had since I've visited home. Things have just changed, the political turmoil. It's a bit more unsafe, and the violence, like all of those things are there. And I always, I get a little hesitant and scared that if I go, I'll be in danger, and it's not really a place I want to put myself in.
Yeah, of
My
course.
parents and my brother, they've gone, like they were even there last Christmas,
Oh, wow.
and definitely part of me, like hearing that, they could actually be there, you can still find things, like they felt safe. It's encouraging because maybe it means that I could go in the near future. I'm just such a different person from the last time I went, even, um, now being in the public eye and being who
Yeah.
I am. Sometimes I wonder if that, if it'll be like even more so of a danger that,
Mhm.
so it's hard. It's hard to be away from family. I don't have any blood relatives in Canada.
Oh, wow.
So when I think back to being home, it was such a different life. I was really like, there was such a huge community of cousins and aunts and
Mhm.
friends and family, and like, yeah, I'm really grateful that I had that. I think it's such a huge part of who I am too, and what I seek in my life now. Um, but it's funny because doing friends and family, it's like she cheers to friends who are family, and that is my reality now. I have chosen family, and
Yes.
that's just as important.
Oh, yes. The people that are in your proximity are so important to you,
Yeah,
whether they're related or not, right? They're gonna be the
yeah,
ones there for you when you fall or to celebrate your many wins. Um, I understand. The climate in South America in general is very. I don't. I
yeah,
I get it, and I understand. Even as me going when I go to Ecuador, it's tough because I stick out. Right, you
yeah,
stick out the way you speak. Even the way I speak Spanish sticks out a lot, and I'm like very
yeah,
white, so I really stick out. But I get it, and I know Venezuela is. I know they've been going through some turmoil for a while. So
yeah,
just keep yourself safe if you do decide to go.
totally.
But I understand. I understand missing your family. That's got to be tough. But you, speaking of missing family, you had moved. You grew when you moved to Canada. You grew up in Alberta,
Yeah,
and then you moved across the country to go to school. How
yeah.
was that? So how was it like leaving? South
Oof.
America, then leaving your family in
Not just
Canada.
leaving South America, leaving and then moving to like the coldest, most northern part of Canada.
Literally. What did that feel like? Did your skin cry? Like, what happened?
Honestly, it was just so culture shocking too. I
Uh,
had never seen snow in my life or felt
yeah.
any kind of temperature like that. And we moved in the middle of winter. It was like January. So it was definitely just so eye-opening that this place could exist. I was like, I live in a refrigerator. What is this? But honestly, I was so excited because when you grow up in a country that is impoverished and there's a lot of like struggle and you're not always really looking ahead for opportunities and what your future is going to look like. That's kind of what I was focusing when I moved to Canada. I know my dad sacrificed a lot to
Right.
leave our community and our life behind. I mean, it is a drastic change, but at the same time, moving to Canada allowed me to be here now and follow my dreams and get to know myself. I mean, here we have the luxury of having the time to get to know ourselves, to focus on other things, like self growth and mental health and financial stability and even pursuing a career in the arts. I mean, that's something that not a lot of people have the opportunity to do back home.
Yeah.
So I feel really grateful. Even though at first I was definitely upset. Like I missed the beach and I missed my friends. I used to send my dad like hate mail being like, "You took me away from my friends." And I was resistant to it the first couple months. Like I literally used to hide out and eat lunch in the classroom. Like I didn't want to meet anyone. I was, yeah, just kind of like figuring out where I fit in,
Right.
especially being a Latina in such a small town, a very like
Hmm.
white town,
In
Fort
Canada, I
McMurray,
can imagine.
Alberta. It was, it was not easy, but I found theater. I was in drama, I was in dance, in sports. I think I was always a very creative, hands-on person. So moving to Fort McMurray, even though it was such a small town, it allowed me to blossom because of it. I kind of had nothing to lose, and the arts scene was really big, surprisingly. So I was encouraged a lot. I had great mentors, which led me to want to pursue acting as a post-secondary option. And I ended up moving across the country to Montreal, which was insane. I mean, my parents were so scared for me, like moving again, but being separated from like the
Right.
just like the initial like team. And my parents don't live in the country anymore, but all four of us used to live here, me and my brother and my parents. They all live in different places now. My brother is back home in Venezuela, my parents live in
Oh,
Saudi. But I stayed because I could see a future for myself here. I couldn't say the same for the rest of my family, but for me it really worked. And I paved my own path too, like
yeah.
I didn't have a lot of people like me doing what I was doing, but it still didn't stop me from saying yes and saying like, well, why can't I do it? Why can I be the first? Like, I didn't really have that fear in my mind. I just, people had already sacrificed enough for me to be here. Like, I think I owed it to that to try.
Yeah, you knew like the path was made. Now you just gotta walk through it.
Gotta do it. And if I failed, I would have done whatever else I
Right.
would have, felt called to do because it's a land of opportunity, and I didn't take that for granted, that I know that I could have pursued whatever path I wanted. This just happened to be the one that I really, really wanted. And I'm glad I did.
You really did. And if you're looking at your IMDb, like you've done so much in I feel like a short amount of time. And I'm like,
Yeah, I
does she
think when I
sleep?
talk to actors who've been in it for longer than me, I think my trajectory has definitely grown in much less time
Yeah.
than I guess it usually does. And I don't think, for acting, there's not really like a timeline. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I think it is just like preparation and opportunity and being in the right place at the right time and having the tools and also mindset. I was fearless in my approach. I didn't always take no for an answer. I didn't allow people to put me in a box. There were a lot of times that I was told like, "Oh, you're too this, you're too that," and I still showed up with my work in hand and proved them wrong. So, I think it's really easy for other people to tell you who you're going to be or what you can and can't do, but it's up to you to actually decide that.
That's absolutely true. And I gotta say that, like, even I've been guilty of believing it sometimes.
Mhm.
And like, what does that get you? That actually gets you nothing. You end up wasting a
No,
lot of
and
time.
it's so human, right? I mean, to have doubt or be critical or um, think that you need a safety net. I think we're creatures of habit, and
Right.
security and comfort is something we seek. But when you stay in that, I guess you're not challenging yourself to grow, or you kind of literally color outside the lines and be like, well, what if I didn't do that? Like, what would happen? I was just kind of too curious to not try. I'm like, well, what if though? Like, what if I do move to Montreal and go to school and then maybe get an agent? What if I'm in a movie someday? I
Right.
never, like, I didn't have giant dreams. Like when I started, I thought I would be in theater and like maybe go to like the big theater companies there. Like there's Shaw and Stratford here, and it's like classic theater. I studied
Yeah.
Shakespeare, I studied the greats. I didn't think I would ever go into film. It was something that happened like 3 years into my training, and then it changed my life again because I loved it. From the first set I stepped foot on, I was like, this is so cool, and I think I could do this.
Well, what was the transition? So you thought you were going to be in theater, you thought you were going to do all that, and then you ended up
Yeah,
somewhere completely different. How did we get
I
there?
did. Because in my third year of schooling, one of the projects, actually two things. The first one was video games, which I did not know that
Yes.
it was real people doing motion capture. I thought it was all animated, and like I had never even considered voice work and doing
Mhm.
voiceovers. But my school did a partnership with Ubisoft in Montreal, which is a big video game company
Yeah.
that I've been working with for years now.
That's so cool.
But ever since we kind of did like a little intensive where a few days a week we would go and wear the suits and we would do like mock scenes from video games. And I loved it. I was like, this is such a cool like mix of all of the things I've learned. It's like film and theater, and it's playful, it's creative, there's no hair or makeup or sets or costumes. It's just you and your imagination and play. It's very like childlike. So I loved it, and it was something I had like in the back of my mind that I really wanted to do. And then after that, our kind of um, like leaning into film, and the theater school kind of doing a collaboration with film. I got to work with Don McKellar, who's a renowned like writer, actor, director in Canada, and he met our class and he wrote a short film specifically for all of us about a story that's all intertwined.
Wow.
And that short film ended up doing so well that it ended up premiering at TIFF in
Wow.
2015. And that was my first like time on set. We actually got to come to Toronto to film, so I got to see the city that I would one day end up living in without me
Right.
knowing that. But I loved the city. I loved the energy. I loved the behind the scenes of film, the what it took, the technicality of it all. I felt like I really loved the multitasking, and it really worked with my being. Like I could hold all of that and then still concentrate on the work and do it. I had so much fun, and eventually I did decide to move to Toronto that year and got my first agent when I moved here. And the rest is history. I just kind of like I was auditioning for theater, but I never booked it, and then I just ended up booking stuff that was in front of the camera. So I'm sure it'll come one day, but I have not done theater since. Like,
Wow.
that's wild. Since 2015, that was like the last time I stepped foot on like a live stage.
Wow.
And I have no doubt that it'll come back because I miss that rush, the immediacy of the audience and being able to have that energy kind of reflected back to you when you give it.
Right.
But
Feeding off of it.
yeah, it's so different than like filming something and then a year or two later it finally comes out, but you're in such a different stage of your life. It's like a time capsule
Yeah,
of
you're
your
like,
life.
I was a child when I did that a
Yeah,
year ago.
it's so wild. And so yeah, it's really trippy that there's such a waiting period, and you're gonna see a project, for example, like the next one that's coming out is Tarot, which is a Sony
Yes.
Pictures horror movie,
Right.
and I filmed that in 2022,
Oh
and
my
I
God.
think already even from then till now, like I'm such a different person, and that's why I call it a time capsule. It's really unique to get to see yourself during that time, and all of those memories come flushing in, and it's something that will forever exist, whereas in theater, it's like, it's just a one-time thing. Whoever was there experienced it, but
Yes.
every night is different.
Right. The magic of theater, and I guess the sadness is that you can't share it with the rest of the world like that. Some
1 second, Nicole.
Yeah.
My computer's about to die.
Oh, good.
I gotta get my charger. I just saw it right
No
now.
problem. No problem. You've played a lot of queer characters so far, right? We were talking about your relatively short career, would you say?
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of the marathon that I hope this career will be, like I am at the start. I've
And
done,
how did
yeah.
we get like three queer characters right off the bat? How did
Oh
that
my
like come
gosh, even more
coincidentally?
so. Yeah, that was just totally coincidence.
Wow.
I When I booked my first queer role, it was back in 2018, when I booked my first pilot for the CW, and I played in a show called In the Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was totally coincidence because, I mean, first of all, I wasn't even like publicly out yet or anything. It was a really great moment for me to play such a close part of myself that I knew, but not necessarily something people knew outside of, if you didn't know me, you wouldn't know, or it was just like, oh, that's just an actor playing another role. But for me, it was really special because it meant so much. And, following that was Utopia Falls, and I got to play Brooklyn. And it was just like, wow, okay, like now the fandom has grown. And I still hadn't really like come out. Like it was just like still really hard for me, even though I felt so loved and so supported. I think there were a few people who like probably didn't have to ask and they just knew. It was kind of like a, if you know kind of thing, like
Right.
one recognizes the other. But for me, it was like it still took a moment to like really talk about it until Ginny and Georgia came around. And I think that's when I felt confident enough in my career. And after, talking to people who knew me, who have been in the industry, that at the end of the day, I didn't have to, give a reason or make some dramatic big post about my entire trajectory. It kind of just accidentally happened on a podcast, and I came out
How did
because
that
I felt safe.
happen?
Yeah, it's a podcast called Girl on Girl, and we were just talking about really vulnerable things, I guess, and
Yeah.
it just kind of came out. I didn't plan for it. I didn't expect it, to be honest. Like, I think it was a surprise for a few people who heard it, especially because I posted it. I was like, "Hey, listen to this," and I didn't kind of give any warning. It
Listen
just
to
kind of
this.
happened, and I still to this day didn't really make a post about coming out. I just kind of started saying it and owning it, and
Yeah.
then eventually, now where I get to own it, and I'm proud of saying it. But it definitely took me a long time and lots of queer roles to do it, and now getting, to lead the Hallmark, like there have been quite a few queer roles that, are so meaningful to me and I continue to play into. And, I got to work with like Elise Bauman, and that was like
Yeah.
another like queer connection there where we're doing like a proof of concept. Like there have been a lot of moments. I've played mostly queer roles than not. Like it's just,
You live in the dream.
we kind of joke that it's like the camera just saw it. The camera sees into your soul. You didn't need to tell us, Humberly. We just knew.
They picked you.
Yeah.
I mean, coming out on a podcast called Girl on Girl seems appropriate. I don't know.
I think so too. Yeah.
Seems like that was bound to be the outcome of that podcast.
Yeah.
That's just me. You've said that like you felt this queerness since you were younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there like for myself and a lot of queer people I know, like before you even really come out to yourself or know what's going on, watch these movies in secret, watch these shows, hope my mom doesn't walk in. Did you have any moments like that? Were there any shows or movies that you used to watch and like trying
Definitely
to figure
never growing up in Venezuela. Like that didn't even exist. I live in a culture that's extremely homophobic.
Yeah,
like
true.
I was not privy to any like queer relationships, whether that was in my real life or on TV at all, until I guess I moved away or maybe sought it out for myself. I knew that I was different since I was 10. I'm like, I said this on a podcast. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was in love with my best friend, and it was something that like we were curious about, but it
Mhm.
wasn't something that I was already taught that being gay was wrong. I grew up extremely Catholic, very religious,
Yeah.
traditional, like man and woman in the household. There was no other form of existing. So I just kind of like tucked it away. I never really questioned it. There was just like, there's no way that this is me. Um, but it kept coming up in relationships, in my attraction, in the way that I interacted with women. Um, and it was really hard for me because I was still trying to be a good person. I was still trying to like follow my faith and try
Right.
to, stay on track. But I think the older I got, the more I realized that none of that was really true. And it was just something I was taught, but it doesn't have to be my reality. I'm not religious anymore. I mean, it was something that, yeah, it was just nurture. Um, but I definitely outgrew a lot of the things that I was taught and just kind of started leaning into who I really am, even though it was still really scary. I think once I left to go to theater school when I was in my 20s, I realized it was a bit more apparent, I had queer friends and it was so normal for me to, I didn't question that, and I
Right.
like envied how open they were and how out they were, and I never thought that I would come out. I think it would just be something that I would tuck away forever, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think the only reason it became a reality and it's something I can speak about is because of the career that I've had, the roles that challenged me, that I felt safe in, that I felt seen in, that I felt the most authentic in. And I was like, this is me, and I guess I can just own it and be who I am, and it doesn't change who I am. I just get to now talk about it, and that in itself is a privilege and a luxury to be able to safely say it and not, safely in air quotes, because I don't know that queer people are fully safe anywhere. But I think in Canada, and especially in Toronto, moving here kind of changed everything for me. And that was a choice I made. Like once I graduated theater school and I moved to Toronto, I admitted it to myself first. Like, yes, I didn't know what I was calling myself. I was like, are you pansexual? Are you bisexual? Are you, and I adopted queer because it felt like an umbrella term of kind of like an ever flowing, kind of all encompassing kind of
Yeah.
person. And I also love like reclaiming the word queer, which came from maybe a negative
Hmm.
connotation to it being like weird and happy and everything. I think for me, it's like, the labels I struggled with because I wasn't sure where I fit into the label. Like, I'm too femme, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. The
Right.
way I express myself, the people I've dated, the people who people think I'm dating, like it was too much to fall into. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna say I'm queer because I am,
Right.
and whoever knows me and knows my life. But I'm like, no one needs to question it. Like, if I know it in my heart and it makes me feel good, then that's what matters.
And I think we've gotten to a place as a society where like it's not even that big of a deal to come out, which is like amazing.
Yeah,
It's like
I'm
great.
like, do we need to? Like, why don't straight people come out? I'm like,
Right.
why do they care so much about who we're in bed with or who we love or who we want in our lives in an intimate way? Like, it's just,
Yeah. It really
you're
like
still
has
worthy
no effect
regardless.
on anybody
Yeah.
else's life, like what I do. But, tale as old as time, right? But I
Yeah.
feel very lucky to live in the world that we currently live in. And, in 20 years from now, it'll be probably better, hopefully. But I agree. I love the new adoption or like reclaiming the word of queer because it encompasses everything. It doesn't have to be I'm
Yeah.
bisexual, I'm pansexual, I'm this, I'm that. Because that gives like more information that you need to provide. Like you don't need to provide any of that,
Also, I also
really.
feel like it changes, it evolves.
Yeah.
Like, since I came into my sexuality and exploring like what that is for me, I think the labels were sometimes limiting,
Yeah.
and I think what I realized is that it's about the person. It's about my connection to a person. It's an energetic thing. I couldn't explain it. That I'm like, it doesn't really matter who they are, how they express themselves, what their sexuality or gender, or how they show up as a human. I'm like, I think it's a human, and I've never really thought about them being XYZ. It was just like, oh, I'm attracted to them, or like I want them in my life, and somehow that makes me bi, or that makes me pan, or that makes me whatever. You know, it was like, oh, suddenly, like, just me having this attraction, that it changes things. Or now there's a label, now there's this. So I definitely struggled with that because I wasn't sure, like, what it was. And then I had other people imposing their beliefs on me, like, oh, no, no, like, you're dating a man, but, like, you're actually a lesbian. Or, you know, it would be, like, so many things. And then I would be like, wait, what am I? What do I think? And I'm like, no, I think it's just a person. And every person I've met or that I've been involved with, it's like, that changes me. And just because I'm dating a certain gender or a certain person doesn't now change my label, you know? And that's something that I really had to embrace and embody, that if I'm dating a man, I'm not straight. And if I'm dating a girl, I'm not a lesbian. Like, I'm just me.
You're Humberly.
Yeah. And so that's why queer really works for me, because I can be everything under whatever that means. And if people are that curious, then I'm like, well, just, you know,
your imagination, mind your business. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever works. Like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, I think what it means to me is that I respect you and I respect everybody, and I hope the same back, that I think we are all worthy and valid no matter what. And that's what it means to me. Like, I just want you to exist and be happy as you want to. And I expect the same energy back. Yeah.
Amen. I don't know what else I could say to that. Like, all truth, no lies were told.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you did decide to come out and not, you know, and fight that urge to just, like, keep it a secret, because
yeah,
I don't think you realize, well, actually, I don't know if you realize, like, how big of an impact it has on just, like, you know, I can imagine as if I was a kid watching, like, Utopia Falls and just be like, oh, there's these, like, girls that are in a relationship and it's not a big deal, and, like, there's no parents, like, mad about it. It's just there.
They just are. Yeah.
It just is
so beautiful.
That is, like, a really groundbreaking thing, and it doesn't seem so important. It doesn't seem big, but it really is.
I think that was also a reminder for me as well. The fact that there didn't need to be a discussion or excuses or a reason, and you can just exist. And, like, yeah, that love story was definitely just, like, I know how impactful it was because the fans never let me forget it, and they continued to remind me what it meant for them. I think my favorite part of my career so far is the people who are following me from the start, what it has meant for them. And they've seen me grow, and I've heard so many incredible stories of how it's inspired them, how it's changed them, how it's allowed them to be more authentic to who they are, and to be able to say the hard things to their friends or their family members, or simply, if they didn't feel ready to say it out loud, that they themselves figured it out for themselves, which is even more important. I'm like, I just want you to accept you and love you, because that is how we change the world. I'm like, you get to be authentically yourself and live in your joy. That is, you know, that's the most important thing, because if we all lived in that, there would be so much more of that to share. It's, like, infectious when someone is just fully themselves. So, you know, as much as I knew that I owed it to everybody else for me to exist as I am, because it is so beyond me. It is so beyond me. It wasn't just about me struggling with how it was going to affect my life. It was like, I can't not, you know?
Of course.
I can't not exist. I can't not bring a voice to that and bring love to that voice and light to that voice. It's really, really important to me.
Well, we thank you. And, you know, you're going to be in the women loving women's zeitgeist forever. So
yeah,
you really, I mean, with all the roles you played so far, like, more than, like, other actors, like Jennifer Beals can be a lesbian in one thing, and that's it forever.
No matter what character I play, and no matter who that person dates in the show, I'm like, she's still queer because she comes from me. Like, girl, you know what I mean? It's like, I still, like, it'll never be untethered. Like, no. It is one and the same. It comes from me, so therefore it is. Yeah,
exactly. And you know, you've had romantic scenes, kissing scenes. What is the preparation for that? What is there? I know they have, like, coaches, but besides that, what is the, like, preparation with your scene partner? Was there a conversation before?
Honestly, obviously, yes. Always a conversation, always transparent. I want my partners to feel safe and to feel respected. It's very consensual. And I always try this is something that I've always done, and it's like if I know who I'm going to be acting with and who I'm going to be interacting with, I try to reach out, send a message, try to see if we can hang out before we start filming.
Yeah.
You know, it's something, it's just about familiarity, and it's something that doesn't always come along in this industry. You get cast, and then you just have to kind of like exist in that relationship with no previous connection, no history.
Right.
So it is my responsibility as an artist and as a person to create that, whatever that means. You know, I always try to meet up, to chat, to learn about themselves. And so you kind of build even a sliver of trust that when you hit, you know, set and it comes time to work, and we're all professionals, we're going to do it regardless. We do have intimacy coordinators who guide us. You know, they'll make it a close set. They'll give us privacy. They'll let us, you know, we have safety rules, and just, it's very, very consensual. And it's something that, like, at the end of the day, we're two people who are wanting to bring these stories to life, and these characters deserve like the most authentic version of that. So even when there's, you know, hesitation or anxiety or you know, any kind of trepidation behind having intimate contact, I have always felt safe, and I feel really taken care of by my castmates. And you know, I've only ever had like one instance where I didn't feel quite safe, and that was like at the very start of my career, and that was before intimacy coordinators existed. So that makes sense. But ever since, like, every single kind of interaction that I've had has always been very transparent and open, and I'm really glad, because I don't think it'll ever go back to not having guidance on set. It'll always be, you know,
I feel like it was obvious it should
Yeah.
have been around. Like, that makes a lot of sense to me. And
No, I mean, Hollywood was a whole other beast back then, and it was, especially as women, I think there was this expectation that, you know, sexuality and intimacy being on screen was something that, like, if you weren't up to do it, like, you would lose the job, or you would, you know, you would be considered less than. It was hard, you know, and if you set boundaries or you said no, you could be replaced or be fired. So I think I just can't go back to that. Not after the whole Me Too, not after Harvey Weinstein, not after all of that. I think there's a lot more. If you see something, say something. There's a lot more camaraderie, and I'm glad for it, because it's already hard enough to have to be so open and vulnerable on set. And if you don't feel safe, it's really hard to do your job.
of course. I can imagine, like, if you worked at Abercrombie and Fitch and was like, oh, here's day one, you have to make out with this person.
Yeah.
Also,
Exactly.
like,
I'm like, imagine that in any job. Like, well, this is how we bond. So it's like, what?
the icebreaker.
Yeah, you start with that, you know, you start with really intense emotional scenes. And if you don't have anything to go off of, oh my gosh, it can be really nerve-wracking. So I always try to make an effort to get to know who my partners will be, who my castmates will be, so that when it comes to working, we don't have to work as hard, and it can be really natural and flowing.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that they put a lot of like care into it, and I'm glad that you guys can feel safe, because it also gives us the most like natural feeling scene. If we know that you're comfortable, it's gonna be great. The girlies are gonna watch that little scene on repeat. You can see on YouTube. You know that if you can see on YouTube, they repeat. I always look at like any kind of lesbian clip. I look at the little, oh, I know that's where the kiss is, because 1,000 replays in like a minute.
Yeah.
So no, but I'm glad. When I was in high school, I went to performing arts high school, and I was a drama major, and I had a kissing scene with this my classmate, a guy, and I thought nothing of it. And when it came, we were rehearsing, we kissed, and all of a sudden he just was like shaking, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "That was my first kiss in my life," and I was like, "Oh my god."
Oh my gosh.
I was like, why didn't you tell me that? I would have.
And it happens, especially when you act from a young age. A lot of people's first kisses, if they're young actors, are on screen. And I think back to that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you probably weren't taken care of as much as you needed to be. And it's hard. It's not easy. Like, that's such a vulnerable thing. And then there's a bunch of people watching, and then it's recorded for many other people to watch. Like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, on
Yeah.
that note, speaking of the last film that came out, Friends and Family Christmas, how was it working with Ali Liebert? She
Yeah.
is, she's directed another Hallmark queer movie last year, I believe it was. The Holiday Sitter, that's what it was called. How was it working with her?
Incredible. I mean, I learned a lot from her because she was the perfect mix of like being authentically herself and goofy and so playful and like such a good vibe, and also professionalism and
Yeah.
knowing the work and knowing what works. Um, and collaborating with her felt like, I really had a seat at the table.
Yeah.
She's been in this industry way longer than I have. So obviously for me, it's such a treat to be able to be around that and learn from another seasoned actor. But you could tell that she cares and she has fun doing it. And we instantly clicked. It was like, we went to dinner before we started filming, and we rehearsed before we started filming. Like, we really cared. Every scene that it was going to be a two-hander between her and I, we like rehearsed it, we workshopped it, we brought our own ideas. She was always challenging me and like, what do you think about this? And like, this is what I think about this. And like, it reinforced my creative input in being an actor, that I don't just need to, do what's on the page and not question it. That I have a point of view. I have agency, and she is so good at bringing her own that it was really inspiring for me to do the same. So I think, we had great chemistry and working. It felt so easy. It felt like we had been working together forever, and we just had so much fun. It was like working with a friend, and especially when it's so fast. We spent 3.5 weeks together. So it's very unique that you get to spend that much time with someone you just met. So the relationship just, it deepens really, really quickly.
I
So
bet. I
it
mean,
was great.
you bond in a very short amount of time and spend so much time. Like, how else can you not be friends? And
Totally.
she seems very mother energy. Like, that's the energy I got. Like, she's there to take care of
Yeah.
everything. Like, she
Yeah.
like seems like to take charge in a situation. Is
Yeah.
that a good
Yeah. She's
assessment?
very good at that.
Well, you played Danny in that role, and you've played all these roles. Which character that you've played do you think that you are most similar to, and then I guess most different from?
Oh, I think I'm most similar to Brooklyn too from Utopia Falls.
Oh, okay.
Totally.
In what way?
none of them are like 100% me.
Hmm.
I would say like a mix of Brooklyn and Sophie potentially,
Okay.
but still, it's like not fully me because Brooklyn had way more of an edge and a chip on her shoulder. But I think her confidence, her talent, the way that she sticks up for her friends, her vulnerability, her strength. Like, there's a lot of that was me.
Yeah.
And I know that that's one of the reasons I booked the role. And I remember even through the casting process and talking to the director, one of the last notes that he gave me, especially because I had auditioned for 3 different roles in that show before I booked Brooklyn. Brooklyn was the last one, and it
Oh,
was
wow.
the right one.
Yeah.
And all he said was, lean into you. He's like, you embody this character. What we're looking for is someone like you, like how you are, the wittiness, the swagger, the confidence. Like, she's cool. She's a cool girl. I'm like, I'm cool.
Thank you.
I think what's lacking in some of these characters is like, I'm a bit more goofy and quirky and maybe awkward at times, or at least I see myself that way.
Mhm.
I know that I am a confident person, but I am so much more goofy and like kind of weird compared to the characters that I've played, where they seem a bit more like cool. So
Yeah.
if it was like, if I got to play a bit more of like a comedic actor or someone quirky like that, who kind of said things that were, like no filter type thing, or like, I think that would be a bit more of like an accurate depiction of who I really am. Because the characters I play, they do have a bit more of like this like confidence and coolness, and I do have that. I can play that really well. It's really, really fun to do it. I don't often feel like that's fully me in my everyday life, because I'm a
That
bit more like chaotic and like emotional.
Well, that description that you give kind of like gives me like your counterpart in Ginny and Georgia, Max vibes. Like how you're
Totally.
describing yourself.
I
Just
think
like
who
all over
I
the
am
place.
is a bit of like Sophie and Max combined.
Okay.
100%.
So if they
Yeah.
had stuck together and had a child, you would
Totally.
be
That would be me.
you would be the love child of them. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's it for Sophie, right? Is
No
it?
comment. No
Well,
comment.
I'm excited. Either way, we'll see. But now that we've gotten into the deep stuff that like what makes you tick, I want to ask you some sillier questions about
Sorry, my
like
dog wants to say hello. He's just staring at me.
Oreo. What's up?
Here's my baby.
He
Here's my
said, "What are you
Oreo.
doing?" He's so cute. He
I
is so
know.
cute.
He was literally standing there, like giving me his paw, and he was like, look, like this. He'll just.
Oh, how you doing, Oreo? You came at just at the perfect time.
Yay!
Oh, he's a cutie. Well, you can stick around. He can answer some questions for you if
He
you.
just wants to be here. Yeah, he wants to be close.
I feel him. We got to stay close to our little animals. That's what kept me alive during these last few years. Let me tell you. Hi, babe.
Oh yeah.
So, to the silly questions, these are just fun, whatever. What is your most useless talent? It's a talent that you probably won't ever showcase in a film or anything.
Useless. Wow. I'm like, if it's a talent, wouldn't you use it in a film?
I mean, like, I could dislocate my shoulder. I don't think anybody wants to see that.
This one sounds really disgusting, but I can like burp on command.
Wait, no, but that is a talent that would be used, right?
Like I can, yeah. I'm like, I don't know that no one would ever want to use it, but like I would for film. Like if you're eating or whatever and you're burping, but like I can do it on command.
No, that is
That's
not
useless
at all.
but it's there.
Girl, that is not useless.
It's not useless.
I'm gonna come back to this clip in however many years and be like, look, you used it in a role.
Was that a fake burp?
Is that on your resume? Because you need to put it. Can burp on command.
Can and will burp.
Can and will. Willing to burp. You play video games? I know you're on a bunch of them. What are some of your favorite video games?
Oh, I mean, I played Last of Us 1 and 2. It's obviously beautiful. It has a queer storyline.
Mm-hmm.
In the second one, I loved it. I thought that was so cool. I had never seen that. And, getting to play, like, as a female character. Like, there were so many cool things about that game. But recently, I'm a huge fan of horror, so I'm playing Little Nightmares. And it's a great game. Little Nightmares 1 and 2. I played Grease, or Grease. I don't know how to say it, but it's from a Spanish video game developer, like creator, really stunning. Like I could give you a whole list. I was really into Animal Crossing over the pandemic. And whoever's watching this, if my OG fans are here, you know that we had a lot of Animal Crossing parties. We would visit each other's islands. I literally would put my friend code online and open my airport, and like 10 friends would come and join, and we would just chat and like chase each other with nets and fish. And just like wish on shooting stars and like have star parties. Like I miss those days. Like that's the only way we could interact. I used to play Mario Kart as well with people, and I used to share my friend code and be like, hey, I'm making a room, and like so many people would come and play. That was really special. Like, and it was different because my fandom was so tight. It was like at the start when I only had like 15 to 20,000 like followers, and they were all so committed to like supporting me, and we would just like interact like all of the time. I used to go on live and like, like just talk shit. Like, it was really, really fun.
My favorite hobby.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, that's amazing that you have them, and I know fandoms can get quite large, and then it's harder to do those things as you're busier and busier.
To have the really intimate like personal relationships. Like there are a few fans from the early days that I still talk to this day that are like my big supporters, and they they have sent me gifts and letters, and I really appreciate that because it does feel like a little family. Like I've literally attended like a birthday party on
Oh my
Zoom for a
goodness.
fan. Like
Wow.
just things like that that are so personal that I don't know if, you know, as you keep growing and my profile keeps growing, like it's really hard to have that. Um, you know, there's a difference between like a handful of people versus like thousands and thousands of people. So it's a lot harder, but I hope that I do miss that. So I want to kind of bring back the, like, you know, I used to go on live and just answer questions and interact with fans, and they get to learn a bit more about me, because I feel like social media can be really misleading with like who I really am as a person.
Of course.
And I love showing my personality. I love interacting. I love meeting fans. I love asking questions and like having people on and like just doing things like that, like playing video games or, you know, we used to play Among Us. Like it was just a very personal thing, and I want that. I don't want people to think that we're separate. It really means a lot to me that I know that I wouldn't be here without them. So
Of course. I'm sure you could do it. Probably look a little different, but I'm sure you can.
It'll look different, yeah. It'll be like, hey guys, who wants to like go on live and eat my favorite snacks and just like review them? Like it was random things. I did one, and these are all on YouTube, I think, because people used to record them. But one of them was like pineapple on pizza, yes or no? And I ate a whole pizza with pineapple on it on a live, and we were just talking about like,
oh wow, did you like, burp on command too?
Oh gosh, probably on purpose then. Probably couldn't. Yeah. Oh, so funny. But yeah.
Oh wow. So you mentioned Mario Kart. Who is your go-to player on Mario Kart?
I always change it, but I just recently found out that every character has different like speeds and heaviness and whatever. Like it alters your car.
Yes, it does.
So like Bowser and Donkey Kong, great choices.
Are they?
Like, yeah.
As a kid, I always thought Bowser, oh, he's the biggest, so he's heavy. So, but that was like
Nintendo 64. He's fast.
He's fast. I don't want
Yoshi's a good one. I love Yoshi, but I always change it. I change the car and stuff, but like I always change it. I do love Cat Peach because I love that she always goes like meow, like what happens. I'm really into like the voices they make when they lose or win or they get someone.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Cat Peach is super cute.
Yeah. I'm a Toad girl my whole life. I've been a Toad girl since I was a little girl. Every time he hits a banana.
Oh yeah, that was good. Like, you should do voiceovers.
I've been playing that game since like I don't know, 1996, 5. I don't know.
Same, but since the 90s for sure.
Yeah, since Nintendo, like Super Nintendo. Do you have your phone nearby?
Yeah.
Only because I want to ask you, like, what are your most used emojis? The people are dying to know.
That's so funny. You know what? Yes. Especially, it has to do with the theme of my life right now. So I use let me see, I'm going to screenshot this and just like show it to you on the screen so that I can explain myself.
I must explain myself.
I must. There always are things. I mean, obviously, recently I've been using this one a lot because
that's gonna be in there forever.
Revealed Star Trek, and I think it'll always just be like live long and prosper.
Oh, yeah.
I have. This is probably one of my most used. Like I use this one a lot. The little crying like happy tear face. I love using this.
Oh, that's a good one.
Heart all of the time. I cold plunge a lot, so I use this one a lot. Get that bag, girl.
Girl, get your money, sis.
You know, get your money, get paid. So that one is still there. Queen vibes.
Oh, I love it. Queen vibes.
Venezuela and a rainbow because it's just me. I guess I just, those are just very much me.
For obvious reasons.
The death skull has been around just because of tarot. I've been like talking about my horror movie a lot, so the skull is there. I think it changes with like what I'm talking about that week, and it can be very like obvious.
I love that. I love your nails too.
Face is always there.
Oh yeah, that's for everything.
That's for girly.
That's for happy. That's for sad. That's for hungry. That's for scared.
It's like I love you so much. I'm crying. Like I'm having a really hard day. I'm crying.
Everything.
Yeah, that's so fun to see that though. Yeah.
It actually.
I don't know why the salad is there. That one was just from yesterday.
I saw that.
And there's just a salad because there's a restaurant here called Mandy's, and it's literally like the most beautiful salad bar. And there's a new one opening this week, and I'm going to like a fun like little like influencer event where we get to like celebrate them and eat salads and see the space and whatever. So I think I was like writing to my friend and I was like, yummy. It's like salad. That one just snuck in there.
And then that'll be after you go to your cold plunge. You are Canadian, aren't you?
Yeah, I love cold plunging. No, honestly, it was something that like it has changed my life. Doing like sauna and cold plunging has become like my biggest hobby now, and it's something that will forever be a part of my self-care practice forever. If I'm having a stressful time, if I'm overwhelmed, if my body hurts, if I just need to challenge myself, I go to the sauna and I cold plunge. It has changed my life. It really? Truly, truly has, in the best way, because something happens when you put your body into a fight or flight state, but you're also telling yourself to breathe and calming your parasympathetic nervous system while you're being challenged. That's life. You're always going to face challenges. You're always going to find triggers, and you're going to be pissed off, and something is going to really hit you. I want to remember what it feels like when I'm in that water. Everything goes so zen because you can't think of anything else other than breathing through it. And I think of that, and I remind myself that I can do hard things and that I'm brave and I'm capable. And so I just breathe and know that everything is going to be okay, because it's not going to be the end of the day if someone cuts me off. It's not going to be the end of the day if something goes wrong.
Right.
I will be able to troubleshoot, and I will be able to deal with it. And for me, it was just about having, you know, the ability to respond rather than react. And, you know, like, if you don't learn to do that, your emotions will rule your life, and you will just be a reactive person. And that's not always the best outcome of a situation. But if I can take even 10 seconds and breathe through a moment and respond with a bit more clarity, that's something that cold plunging has given me. And sauna too, like, it's the modalities of hot and cold. You put your body into a vulnerable state, you're able to dig deeper.
Yeah. I never thought of it that way at all. Yeah. Like, that's amazing.
And that's the mental part of it. The physical benefits they're proven. That's science. That's, you know, you have, you know, better sleep, better circulation, your metabolism increases, your hits of dopamine, you just feel better, you feel relaxed. It aids in, you know, muscle, just like healing. Like if you're an athlete, or you work out a lot, or you've injured yourself, you struggle with chronic pain, you cold plunge and you sauna, and your body will heal. So, you know, there's just so many benefits, and I didn't know all of these things until I started doing it, and now I go every week, several times a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I go, there's a couple studios here that I go to, and you know, and if there's not a studio, then you find a sauna and you find a body of water and you jump into that cold water. Like, it's incredible. There's no better way to get out of my head and into my body.
All right. Well, maybe I should try that then, because I didn't really think of it
how it goes.
I just thought of it like, that looks very cold and crazy.
Yeah, you know, like, and it is a challenge. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But you will feel incredible and invincible. Like that rush, nothing compares to it. And I look forward to it every single time. And every time you meet the water or the heat, it's wherever you're at. You have to meet yourself where you're at. And it's not about easier or harder. It's, you know, every day in our state of existing is constantly changing, and we're so complex that we can feel joy and grief at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So
it's the crying emoji.
Yeah, like we can be crying, we can be, you know, whatever. It's like that is the complexity of being human. That it changes from moment to moment to moment. So I think what I'm just trying to have a better understanding and a grasp of is not judging that and letting that flow through me, and not having to put a story to it every time, or an excuse or a reason. I can just exist as I am, and that is okay.
Beautiful advice. Beautiful advice. I have one more really silly question, but it's like actually, it's really serious, and then I'll explain why. But it's silly, but it's stupid, but it's really serious. Does mayonnaise belong on an arepa?
Oh wow! I have never put mayo on an arepa. Sorry. However, when you have reina pepiada, which is one of my favorite arepas, it's like the shredded chicken with avocado, and like they do add mayo to it. Like you can. And I would have it as like salsa rosada.
I was gonna say mix it with the
Sauce.
ketchup. Yeah.
You mix it with the ketchup. But on its own, no, I would say butter is what belongs in an arepa.
But
You
you
know,
did
we
say
had
yeah.
freaking.
I did
But you
say yeah.
could probably put it on. I mean, it's not blasphemous. Like a lot of Italians would say, like pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. Like I
Right.
understand, but if it tastes good to you, I'm not gonna judge you.
That's what I'm
People
saying.
eat like peanut butter and pickles. Okay, like you know, they eat like the celery with the what is that called? It's like ants on a log or something. It's
That's
celery
good.
with peanut butter and raisins. Like
Yeah.
when you think about it, those are complex, weird flavors. But if you like it, who am I to say? You know,
You can't yuck anybody's yum. But you know, my
I
wife
can't. I can't.
my wife is born and raised Colombian, and her mom like would make arepas, and the first time I put mayonnaise on it, they were like, "What the fuck are you
What are
doing?"
you doing?
And they
Yeah.
still shit on me, and now they put it too, and I'm just like, I don't know, I just kind of like
mayonnaise
it.
is amazing. I'm like, it's eggs. It's protein. It's salty. It's vinegary. I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm hungry now, and I'm definitely gonna make some arepas for breakfast. Thank you. Yes,
You're
breakfast
welcome.
arepas are my favorite. Just some
Hell
scramble,
yeah,
some avocado and cheese, and
some little
oh
huevitos
yeah,
on
it's gonna
there.
happen. Oh
Salt,
heck yeah, I'm
truffle
making
salt. You
that.
got truffle salt?
No, I
What
have
are you
no.
doing?
I love truffles. You know, because it's
Crap.
hit or miss. Some people either love truffles or they hate them, and
Or they're
it's
wrong.
like,
Yeah,
or they're.
there's only
Yeah,
one way to
I love
experience it.
truffle.
You get truffle salt, girl. You put that on I put
Truffle
that on my eggs
salt.
every day. Yes.
I have truffle oil.
Nah, salt, because you can put
Truffle
that on
salt. Okay, I'm
anything.
gonna find it. I'm gonna find it.
Amazon, baby.
I
That
will
just
find those.
easy. All right, before we finish, can we
Amazing.
play a really quick game of this or that? And it's just like answers.
Okay, great. Fire, fire,
All right,
fire
yeah.
answers.
You
Okay,
need to
go.
give an explanation, just answer. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Go to the beach or go hiking?
Beach.
Perfect. Craft night or game night?
Game night. Especially if
Ooh.
it's Settlers of Catan. Love that game.
Oh, okay. She's taking over the world. Cooking together or ordering takeout?
Ooh, cooking together always.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
She's romantic. City living or country living?
Oh no.
Oh, we got her.
Oh, I live in a city, but I love the country. I want both. Like I want a little house on a lake, but I would live in a city and have like a little escape in the country. Yeah. I don't know that I could. Yeah, I think city. Yeah, I think city. City because I do too many things. I like activities. I want to do a lot of stuff. I think I would find myself maybe bored.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
This one might be tough. Arepas or cachapas?
How dare you put me in this?
You have to answer.
Oh. Dang it!
I know it's a
I might
tough
have to
one.
say arepas just because of the versatility
Yes.
of what I can put in them. Cachapas are like you got the butter and cheese and like that's it. But
It could be lunch, it could be breakfast, it could be dinner.
But arepas could be everything. Yeah, they're
Right.
versatile. Yeah.
That's also the correct answer. How did you know? Daddy Yankee or Bad Bunny?
I gotta go with Daddy Yankee because he was my OG. Like
He
that
is
was
OG.
OG for me. Okay, like he started it.
He did. He's the
But,
god.
I mean, Bad Bunny is incredible. Like I think what he has done is the fact that he's known worldwide now. It's wild how reggaeton just became like mainstream
Yep.
because that was something just the Latinos had. Like, oh, you think this is good? I've been dancing to this since I was like 5 years old.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
it's like we had reggaeton forever, and now the world gets to enjoy reggaeton, and it can be like in North American television, like it can be a part of mainstream media,
Yeah.
which is wild.
And
But
the
that was
fact that
Daddy
he's
Yankee, like, yeah,
the fact that he's so open with his sexuality too, or whatever it is, who knows? But who cares? Like
it's just
it
a
is.
self-expression, whatever it is.
Mhm.
I really love when artists just get to exist and they're kind of challenging the like whatever being masculine means, you know, what men are. It's like just exist. Just
Oh, I
be
love
you.
it.
Yeah.
I love it. I have like a few more. Becky G or Carol G? I know. I'm just like being real spicy.
This
today.
is blasphemous. It almost sounds like you have to compare them, and I'm like, they're both.
No. It's not. It's not a comparison at all. We don't want to compare. Hell no. Just
Maybe
off-
Carol G. Oh
Okay.
no, I don't know. I need to look at what songs recently I've been listening to and be like, go from that. But I love them both. I think they're both incredible.
You don't have
Oh
to pick
man,
if you don't want
I
to.
think Carol. I love her freaking pink ass hair, and
Okay,
but Becky. No, this is blasphemous. Jail, straight to jail.
you're jail. So I'm gonna give you the dead emoji and the nail emoji.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
Becky. Yeah.
let's see. High School Musical, right? You played Gabriella once. Do we?
I did.
Yeah. I mean, perfect for the role. Do we pick the song "What I've Been Looking For"? Troy and Gabriella's version, or Sharpay and Ryan's? I feel like this is kind of easy.
Oh, come on. Of course, Tori and Gabriella.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
but a little, shout out to Bop to the Top because they really killed it with that one.
that was a good song.
It was
Ay, caliente. I
mucho
always
gusto.
remember mucho gusto. I'm like, oh my God, there's Spanish in High School Musical. Like, that was cool.
That was beautiful. And last one. If you had to live in one place for the rest of your life and you had to choose, would it be New Babel or Wellsbury, Massachusetts?
I mean, I would rather just have my freedom and self-expression. So I guess I have to choose Massachusetts because New Babel, even though it's supposed to be a utopia, like no, we're all being lied to.
It's a
We're like,
jail. It's prison.
yeah, like we are servants to, yeah. But it would be cool to live in a sci-fi world. But no, we're like
Wellsbury's
in a
not too
bubble.
shabby though.
Yeah, Willsbury's not bad.
It's Pleasantville.
think-
It might be a little like
yeah.
boring and but
Yes,
it's a little bougie. So
that's
it
so
could be-
funny.
it
Good
could be-
questions. Good questions.
Thank you. Well, Humberly, thank you so much for taking out your time to talk with me today. I know you've been very busy and you're about to be even busier. Can you let everybody know where they can find you, watch you, listen to you, do whatever?
Yeah, well, I think mostly active on Instagram, which is just at Humberly. I'm very proud of that. I love that it's a standalone game. Like the name itself is just my name. And I use X, aka Twitter. At
You can call
times,
it Twitter.
I love it's Twitter. I don't. It's weird. And even the emoji, like it throws me off that it's like an X. And I'm like, what is that at?
What is
Oh, right.
Oh,
And that one is at Humberly G. I'm like kind of on TikTok. I don't really know how to use it yet. Sometimes I do really well on there. Sometimes I'm just like hit or miss. But that one's also at Humberly G. It's a fun one. I think TikTok for me is more like expressive because I'm not like under the eye of like this is your business. Whereas like Instagram, I feel like it's more like this is my job, and I don't share like too many personal things or do like dances on there. But on TikTok, I'm like, I'll do a little dance thread if I feel like it. A little, yeah. I'm like I share a lot of behind the scenes on there. I love making the little videos and like doing transitions. Like those things are fun when I feel called to. But yeah, come hang. I do enjoy interacting with fans, and I promise you, I see everything that you send me, even when I don't answer back. I don't open all of my DMs, but I absolutely read everything. So just know that I see you.
Oh. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Humberly Gonzalez, the one and only. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody else will enjoy this as well. Thank you so much.
Yay.